The day Earth starship, Gauntlet, docked at the Interstellar Council's neutral station, it was met with open mockery. The ship was massive, yes, but it lacked the sleek elegance of the Venari vessels, the shimmering ethereal wings of the Coralli, or the crystalline hulls of the Drilix. Instead, the Gauntlet looked like an industrial relic, blocky, dull gray, and utilitarian. The kind of craft that seemed more suited for hauling asteroids than participating in a galactic summit. Representatives of the Council's member species gathered in the station's observation deck, their whispers not so subtle. "The humans call that a warship," chortled the insectoid's Thrith delegate, their mandibles clicking in amusement. "It's more scrap than ship." "Primitive as always," a Coralli ambassador murmured, their translucent skin glimmering faintly. Why they were invited to this summit at all baffles me. Earth's Captain Anya Merrick stepped off the docking bridge, her posture rigid, her expression neutral. She was accompanied by a small team, all dressed in dark, unadorned uniforms. No flashy embellishments, no decorative rank insignias, just efficient, functional attire. It only added fuel to the whispers. The summit wasn't just any meeting. It was an emergency session convened after the mysterious annihilation of the Orvelin Empire's homeworld. Once a dominant force in the galaxy, the Orvelins were reduced to scattered survivors. Their attackers? An unknown entity that came to be called the Blight. Ships, planets, and entire star systems were left hollowed out, stripped of all organic life. The Council had no answers, no solutions. And now Earth, a species barely out of its galactic infancy, had arrived with a ship that seemed to be an insult to the gravitas of the situation. Captain Merrick, the Drilix speaker, addressed her, his crystalline form refracting the light like a living prism. "You have brought this vessel to offer aid? You must understand how inadequate it appears for a threat of this magnitude." Anya stepped forward. "Appearances can be deceiving, Speaker," she said evenly. "The Gauntlet may not look like much, but she was built for one purpose, to fight the kind of war no one else wants to face." The Coralli ambassador laughed, their voice like chiming glass. "You believe that clumsy brute of a craft can succeed where entire armadas have failed?" "We're not here to boast," Anya replied, her gaze unflinching. "We're here to help. But if you doubt us, you're welcome to sit back and watch." 3 days later, the Blight came. A shadow tore across the edges of the star system, blotting out the distant starlight. The entity was not a fleet but a living swarm. Billions of biomechanical drones, each no larger than a human's torso, linked together in a writhing, shifting mass. They consumed everything in their path, breaking ships into component atoms, feeding on the energy of suns, and leaving desolate husks in their wake. The Council's combined fleet, a dazzling array of the most advanced ships in the galaxy, moved to intercept. The Venari deployed their energy webs, only to watch them disintegrate under the Blight's sheer numbers. The Coralli unleashed their light-lance barrages, piercing through the swarm but barely slowing it down. The Drilix crystalline cannons shattered drones by the thousands, but it was like trying to drain an ocean with a sieve. In the chaos, the Gauntlet advanced. The Council delegates, safely ensconced in the station, stared in disbelief as Earth's cumbersome, unadorned ship charged straight into the Blight. It didn't dodge or weave, it didn't even fire. Instead, it let the swarm engulf it. "Fools," the Thrith delegate hissed. "They'll be destroyed within moments." But the Gauntlet didn't falter. As the swarm closed in, its dull gray hull began to shift, revealing hidden panels and vents. Suddenly, the ship erupted with bursts of electromagnetic energy, disrupting the swarm's cohesion. High-frequency sonic waves followed, calibrated to resonate with the drone's structures. Sections of the Blight shattered like glass. And then the Gauntlet revealed its true weapon, a gravitic pulse generator. It emitted a pulse so powerful it bent space itself, creating localized singularities that tore through the Blight like black holes. For every drone the swarm lost, a dozen more surged forward, but the Gauntlet held its ground, its defenses designed to withstand and adapt to the relentless onslaught. Inside the ship, the crew worked with mechanical precision. AI systems collaborated seamlessly with human operators, coordinating the ship's multi-layered defenses and countermeasures. Every member of the crew knew their role, their years of training evident in the calm efficiency with which they faced the impossible odds. "What is this madness?" the Drillick speaker murmured as the observation deck's holoscreens displayed the battle. "How can a ship like that stand against such a force?" Anya's voice came through the station's comms, her tone steady despite the chaos surrounding her. The Gauntlet wasn't built to look pretty or win style points. It was built to survive. And it was built by people who have spent millennia fighting wars of attrition, learning to turn weakness into strength. The Blight is formidable, but it's not invincible. As the battle raged, the Gauntlet executed maneuvers no one had thought possible for a ship of its size. It sacrificed outer hull sections, jettisoning them as decoys to confuse the swarm. It deployed microdrones of its own, each equipped with EMP charges that disrupted the Blight's hive mind coordination. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. The other fleets, inspired by the Gauntlet's audacity, regrouped and adapted. The Venari used their energy webs to funnel portions of the swarm into traps. The Coralli shifted their strategy to support Earth's ship, using their lightlances to carve paths through the chaos. For the first time, the Council's forces fought as a unified front. By the time the battle ended, the Blight was in full retreat, its swarm broken and scattered. The Gauntlet was battered, its hull scorched and pitted, but it was still intact. When Captain Merrick returned to the station, the mockery was gone. The council delegates greeted her with hushed reverence. The Drillick speaker stepped forward, inclining his crystalline head. "Captain Merrick," he said solemnly, "we owe you our thanks and our apologies. Your ship and your people have shown us a strength we underestimated." Anya gave a small, tired smile. "We're not here for thanks. We're here because this galaxy is our home too. If we're going to survive the Blight, we'll need to face it together." The Council had laughed at Earth's ship. But when the real battle began, it was the Gauntlet, and the indomitable spirit of the people who built it, that turned the tide. The neutral station buzzed with activity. Delegates from the various species hurried through the corridors, arranging emergency meetings, drafting new strategies, and sending frantic messages to their homeworlds. The battle with the Blight had shaken the galaxy's confidence in its collective strength. What remained of the Council's fleet limped back into dock for repairs, but Earth's Gauntlet still hung in space like a silent sentinel. Captain Anya Merrick sat in the station's debriefing chamber, surrounded by representatives of every major galactic power. Holograms of the battle replayed in the air above the table, showcasing the Blight's overwhelming force and the Gauntlet's ingenuity in countering it. The Coralli ambassador broke the silence, their voice still tinged with disbelief. "Your ship's technology, we've never seen anything like it. Where did you develop such weapons? Such defensive measures? You've only been part of the interstellar community for 3 decades. Anya leaned forward, her expression unreadable. Earth didn't have the luxury of peace as it developed. We were never the strongest, never the fastest, never the most advanced. But we learned to innovate, to adapt. When you're fighting for survival, you find solutions where no one else sees them. The Thrith delegate's mandibles clicked in contemplation. Your gravitic pulse generator. It destabilized the Blight's drones so effectively. But creating singularities on a localized scale, that's forbidden technology under council law. And yet it worked, Anya replied sharply. If we'd followed your rules, your fleets would have been annihilated. Sometimes, survival means rewriting the rules. There was a murmur of agreement around the room, though some delegates bristled. The Vanari, known for their adherence to tradition, spoke next. While your methods are unconventional, they cannot be ignored. If Earth has more ships like the Gauntlet, we could mount an offensive against the Blight. Anya shook her head. The Gauntlet isn't part of a fleet. She's one of a kind. A prototype. We poured everything we had into building her because we knew the kind of threat we might face someday. But we can't build another without your help. The room fell silent. The Drilix speaker broke it with a crystalline hum. You propose an alliance? A pooling of resources and technology. Not just an alliance, Anya said. A coalition. The Blight isn't going to stop. It's adapting, evolving. Next time, it'll be stronger. If we want to survive, we need to build a fleet that's more than the sum of its parts. A fleet that combines Earth's resilience, Vanari agility, Coralli precision, and Drilix ingenuity. Every species has strengths. It's time we used them together. A galaxy united. The idea was met with resistance at first. The galactic powers had operated independently for millennia, their fleets designed to assert dominance rather than collaborate. Trust was a rare commodity in a galaxy fractured by rivalries and old grudges. But the Blight's shadow loomed large, and Earth's victory had proven one thing. The old ways were no longer enough. Blueprints were exchanged, scientists and engineers from every species brought together in unprecedented collaboration. Earth shared its gravitic pulse technology, while the Vanari contributed their energy web systems. The Coralli adapted their light lance weaponry to work in tandem with Drilix crystalline targeting systems. The result was a new class of starship, sleek, powerful, and deadly, a fusion of the galaxy's brightest minds. The first of these ships, Unity's Flame, launched 6 months later, accompanied by a joint fleet from every member species. Earth's Gauntlet served as the fleet's flagship, its scars from the previous battle now a badge of honor. The return of the Blight. The Blight struck again sooner than expected. This time, it targeted a system rich in resources, its swarm larger and more aggressive than before. But this time, the galaxy was ready. The new fleet moved as one, each ship designed to complement the others. The Vanari intercepted the swarm with their energy webs, holding them in place long enough for the Coralli and Drilix to unleash precise barrages. Earth's Gauntlet and Unity's Flame spearheaded the assault, deploying gravitic pulses that fractured the swarm's cohesion. The Blight adapted, sending waves of drones in unpredictable patterns, but the fleet countered with relentless precision. Microdrones, EMP bursts, and coordinated barrages overwhelmed the enemy. What had once been an unstoppable force was now a disorganized, broken mass. For the first time, the galaxy didn't just survive the Blight. It defeated it. A new chapter. After the battle, the Council convened once more, this time with a new sense of purpose. Earth's leadership was granted a permanent seat, its status elevated to one of the galaxy's major powers. The Gauntlet, battered but unyielding, became a symbol of resilience and unity. Anya Merrick stood before the Council, her voice carrying the weight of what had been achieved. The Blight isn't gone. It will return. But today, we've proven that together, we're stronger than any threat. This isn't just Earth's fight. It's all of ours. And as long as we stand united, we will endure. For the first time in its history, the galaxy had more than just peace. It had hope. And though the Blight would remain a looming threat, the unity forged in its shadow would shine brighter than any star.
The deepening threat. Months passed since the decisive victory over the Blight, and the newly formed coalition fleet began expanding its operations. Scouts were sent into uncharted regions of the galaxy, searching for clues about the Blight's origin. What they found sent ripples of fear through the Council. On the edge of a dying star system, an abandoned moon bore the unmistakable scars of a Blight invasion. Beneath its surface, however, lay something terrifying, a massive biomechanical structure, dormant but pulsing faintly with energy. It resembled the Blight's drones but was thousands of times larger, a command node, or perhaps a spawning center. Earth science teams, led by Dr. Leona Vex, were among the first to study the structure. What they discovered was sobering. The Blight isn't just a swarm, Vex reported during a council briefing. Her holographic display showed complex neural patterns resembling a hive mind. It's a distributed intelligence. Each drone is a cell, and these nodes are its brain. We didn't just fight a fragment of the Blight before. We fought one of its tendrils. The core intelligence is still out there, and it's watching us. The council chamber fell silent. The realization was chilling. The Blight wasn't retreating. It was strategizing. The Gauntlet's last mission. With this revelation, the Council prioritized finding the Blight's core. If they could destroy it, they might end the threat permanently. Earth's Gauntlet, still the most adaptable ship in the fleet, was chosen to lead the expedition into the uncharted void. Captain Anya Merrick didn't hesitate. She and her crew had faced the Blight before and knew the stakes better than anyone. "If the Blight wants a fight," she said grimly, "we'll bring it to their doorstep." The Gauntlet was upgraded for the mission. Its gravitic pulse generator was enhanced, its hull reinforced with Drelix crystalline plating, and its engines outfitted with Coralli quantum drives for faster-than-light navigation. Joining it was a hand-picked escort fleet, the Unity's Flame, several Venari interceptors, and a Drelix capital ship equipped with experimental energy shields. As the fleet prepared to depart, Anya addressed her crew. "This mission isn't just about survival. It's about ensuring no one else has to live in fear of the Blight. Whatever we face out there, remember this. We're fighting for every life in this galaxy. And if we fall knowing we gave it everything." Into the abyss. The fleet ventured deeper into the void than any ship had before, navigating treacherous nebulae and gravitational anomalies. Along the way, they encountered fragments of the Blight, dormant drones, abandoned nodes, and strange organic structures that pulsed with faint energy. But these were only remnants. The Blight's core intelligence remained elusive. Then, after weeks of searching, the fleet arrived at a star system unlike any they'd seen. The central star was encased in a massive, biomechanical shell, its energy being harvested by an immense structure surrounding it. Millions of drones swarmed the area, forming a living, shifting web. At the heart of it all was the core, a titanic construct that defied comprehension. It was a sphere, miles in diameter, its surface rippling with patterns of light and motion. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed alive, a heartbeat of a galaxy-spanning predator. "The Blight's brain," whispered Dr. Vex, who was aboard the Unity's Flame. "If we destroy that, we cut off the head." The final battle. The fleet's approach triggered an immediate response. Swarms of drones poured from the core, converging on the ships with terrifying speed. The Venari interceptors darted forward, weaving intricate patterns to distract the swarm. The Drelix capital ship deployed its shields, absorbing wave after wave of attacks, while the Unity's Flame provided long-range support with precision strikes. The Gauntlet, true to its name, charged straight for the core. "All power to the gravitic generator," Anya ordered as the ship plowed through the swarm. The Gauntlet unleashed pulse after pulse, creating miniature singularities that tore through the drones. But for every drone destroyed, more seemed to emerge. "We're not going to last at this rate," her first officer warned. "We don't need to last," Anya replied. "We just need to get close enough." The fleet's coordinated assault opened a narrow path to the core. The Gauntlet surged forward, its hull battered and scarred. As they approached, the core began to change. Its surface opened like a vast mechanical flower, revealing a swirling vortex of energy at its center. Dr. Vex's voice crackled over the comms. "That's its neural nexus. If you detonate a gravitic pulse inside it, you'll destabilize the entire structure." Anya didn't hesitate. "Prepare the pulse generator for overload. Set a collision course." Her crew stared at her, shocked. "Captain, that's a suicide run." "I know," Anya said quietly. "But this is the only way." The Gauntlet plunged toward the core, its systems pushed to their limits. The rest of the fleet provided cover, drawing the swarm away. As the ship neared the Nexus, Anya activated the pulse generator manually. "It's been an honor," she said to her crew, her voice steady. "Brace yourselves. A galaxy reborn." The explosion was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The gravitic pulse collapsed the Nexus in on itself, creating a chain reaction that tore through the core and its surrounding structures. The star system erupted in a blinding light, scattering the swarm and obliterating the Blight's central intelligence. The remaining fleet watched from a safe distance, their sensors confirming what they could hardly believe. The Blight was gone. Without its core, the swarm dissolved into aimless, lifeless fragments. The Gauntlet was lost, but its sacrifice saved the galaxy. Legacy. The Gauntlet's crew were hailed as heroes, their names etched into the annals of galactic history. Earth's role in the coalition cemented its place as a leader among the stars, its resilience and ingenuity now a source of inspiration for all species. And though Anya Merrick and her crew were gone, their legacy endured in the fleets they helped build and the unity they forged. The galaxy was no longer fractured, no longer divided by petty rivalries. It had faced the darkness together, and emerged stronger. As new stars were born and the wounds of war began to heal, one truth became clear. The Blight's greatest mistake was underestimating the people of Earth.
The whisper of shadows. The galaxy celebrated the end of the Blight, but beneath the jubilation, a quiet unease lingered. Though the Blight's core intelligence had been destroyed, scattered remnants of its drones still roamed the void. They were inactive, lifeless, mere debris drifting through the dark, but their presence served as a grim reminder of the threat that had loomed so large. Dr. Leona Vex and her team had continued their research in the wake of the Gauntlet's final mission. Analyzing the wreckage of drones recovered from the battle, she made a discovery that sent chills through her spine. Embedded deep within the drone's neural frameworks was a subroutine, dormant but intact, transmitting a faint signal on frequencies so obscure that even the most advanced galactic sensors had missed it. The signal wasn't random. It was a pulse, a rhythm, a heartbeat. Vex rushed to the council with her findings. In an emergency session, she played the decoded signal for the assembled delegates. It was faint but unmistakable, a series of mathematical sequences that formed a repeating pattern, almost like a message. "It's a distress call," Vex explained. "The Blight wasn't just an intelligence. It was part of something larger. This signal, it's reaching out to whatever created it. The true architects." The revelation sent shockwaves through the council. For centuries, the galaxy had believed it was alone, its rival species competing for dominance in an otherwise empty universe. But now, a terrifying possibility emerged. The Blight was not a native threat. It was a tool, a weapon, perhaps a scout sent by something far greater. The council debated furiously. Some argued that the signal was merely a remnant of the Blight's programming and posed no real threat. Others, including Earth's new representatives, pushed for immediate action. "We've made the mistake of underestimating threats before," argued Ambassador Saudenaire, who had replaced Anya Merrick after the captain's sacrifice. We can't afford to wait and see. If something or someone answers that signal, we need to be ready. Reluctantly, the Council approved an exploratory mission to track the signal. Once again, Earth led the charge, its scientists and engineers spearheading the development of a new generation of ships. Among them was the Resolute, a sister ship to the Gauntlet, built using everything the Coalition had learned from their first encounter with the Blight. The edge of the known. The Resolute, commanded by Captain Dorian Kane, embarked on its mission accompanied by a small fleet of Coalition ships. The signal led them far beyond the boundaries of charted space, into a region known only in myths and whispered tales, the Rift. The Rift was a region of space where physics itself seemed to fray. Stars burned with unnatural colors, and gravity fluctuated unpredictably. Ships that ventured too far into its depths rarely returned. But the signal was strong here, its rhythm growing louder with each passing day. As they ventured deeper, the fleet began to encounter strange phenomena. Ghostly lights flickered on their sensors, and alien structures floated in the void, immense, derelict constructs that defied identification. Some bore faint traces of Blight-like technology, but others were far older, their surfaces inscribed with runes and patterns no one could decipher. Finally, they found it. A world hung in the darkness, its surface a patchwork of organic and mechanical growths. It pulsed faintly with energy, the source of the signal emanating from a massive tower at its center. It was no ordinary planet. It was an artificial construct, ancient and alive. "This is it," Kane said, staring at the display in the Resolute's command center. The Blight's creators. First contact. The fleet approached cautiously, scanning the planet for signs of activity. To their surprise, they found no defenses, no drones, no weapons. The construct was dormant, its vast machinery humming softly but showing no signs of hostility. A landing team, led by Dr. Vex, descended to the surface. The air was thick with a strange metallic mist, and the ground seemed to shift subtly under their feet, as though the planet were breathing. The tower at the signal's origin loomed above them, its surface covered in shifting patterns of light. As they entered the tower, they found themselves in a vast chamber filled with glowing orbs suspended in midair. Each orb displayed images, star systems, galaxies, and the Blight. It was a repository of knowledge, a living archive of the Creator's history. And then they heard the voice. It wasn't a voice in the traditional sense, but a presence that resonated in their minds, speaking in concepts and emotions rather than words. "You are not the first." The team froze. Vex stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Who are you? Did you create the Blight?" The presence responded, its tone neutral yet vast. "The Blight was our tool, designed to cleanse and renew. But it grew beyond its purpose, adapting beyond control. We are the architects, and you are the first to stand before us since its rebellion." The architects explained that they were an ancient race, long removed from physical form, who had once seeded the galaxy with life. The Blight was meant to control their creations, pruning civilizations that grew too destructive or unsustainable. But the Blight had turned on them, consuming even its makers. "We stopped the Blight," Vex said, her voice steadying. "It's over." "You delayed it," the architects replied. "But its core intelligence was a fragment. Its true essence lies beyond this galaxy, dormant but aware. It will rise again, preparing for the true war." The team returned to the fleet with the architect's warning. The Council was informed, and for the first time, the galaxy faced the terrifying reality of its place in the cosmos. It was not alone, and the true threat lay beyond anything they had imagined. Under Earth's leadership, the coalition began preparing for a new kind of war. Ships were no longer designed for local skirmishes but for intergalactic survival. Knowledge from the architects was integrated into their designs, and the galaxy's brightest minds worked tirelessly to decipher the ancient secrets. But even as they prepared, the signal changed. It was no longer a heartbeat. It was a roar. Across the void, in the dark spaces between galaxies, something stirred. And as the coalition stood united, they knew the Blight had been only the beginning. The real battle was yet to come.